Operation Lone Star was launched by Governor Abbott in March 2021 as an effort to address the increase in illegal immigration and combat human and drug trafficking into Texas. According to the governor's office, this operation aims to fill the security gap left by the lack of action from the Biden administration in securing the border. Each individual apprehended or arrested, as well as each gram of drug seized, is considered a significant impediment to what would otherwise have reached Texas and the country's communities due to the open border policies promoted by President Biden. Welcome to a new video. Cooperation between nations is marked by the action of their security forces together and for a common good citizen security. Governor Greg Abbott, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and the Texas National Guard are collaboratively working to strengthen border security, aiming to halt the smuggling of drugs, weapons, and people into the state of Texas. This collaboration aims to prevent, detect, and intercept transnational criminals. Since the inception of Operation Lone Star, the coordinated efforts of various agencies have resulted in over 239,849 migrant apprehensions, as well as over 40,364 arrests related to criminal activities, and more than 11,666 charges for serious offenses. Additionally, over 4,710 firearms has been seized, and nearly $37 million in cash has been confiscated. In the fight against fentanyl, the TPS has seized over 342 million lethal doses statewide. Operation Lone Star is a joint initiative carried out by the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas Military Department, along with the southern border between the state of Texas and Mexico, which began in 2021 and is currently ongoing. This operation, as expressed by the Texas Governor Greg Abbott, aims to counter the increase in illegal immigration, illegal drug trafficking, and human trafficking. Between fiscal years 2020 and fiscal years 2021, migrant apprehensions along the United States-Mexico border increased by 278%. As of April 2022, it was estimated that Operation Lone Star was incurring an approximate cost of $2.5 million per week, with projected annual cost of around $2 billion. At the beginning of the operation, approximately 10,000 National Guard members were deployed in support of Operation Lone Star, with around 6,000 deployed on November 2022. According to information provided by the Governor's Office, OLS has resulted in 496,700 migrant detentions, 38,700 criminal arrests, including 35,100 serious charges, and the seizure of 454 million doses of fentanyl. 1 year after the start of Operation Lone Star, Texas experienced a 9% increase in migrant encounters along its border with Mexico, compared to a 62% increase in Arizona, California, and New Mexico, along their respective borders with Mexico. Operation Lone Star has faced criticism from the federal government, state officials, and immigrant rights advocates due to the practices related to the treatment of migrants, including water withholding and orders to return to the Rio Grande. According to statements by the governor, in January 2024, a total of 102,100 migrants were involuntarily transported by bus to sanctuary cities across the United States, with some also being airlifted directly to these cities. This measure has caused migrant crises in locations such as New York, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., as local resources become overwhelmed in accommodating the newcomers. Local officials in sanctuary cities have criticized the bus transportation program and have requested federal assistance, in addition to imposing fines on charter bus companies transporting migrants and sending migrants to other cities. In January 2024, Texas officials took control on Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, a site frequently used by the United States Border Patrol to process newly arriving migrants. Overall, Border Patrol agents were banned from entering the park, except to assess a boat ramp in the park after 3 migrants drowned nearby while crossing the Rio Grande. This situation sparked a confrontation between federal and state officials. The Biden administration has stated that it will take the dispute to the United States Department of Justice if Border Patrol agents' access to the park is not restored. Since former Governor Rick Perry Operation Linebacker, the state of Texas has been conducting border security operations with escalating intensity since 2005. However, these operations have had limited scope due to the exclusive authority of federal immigration agents to deport immigrants. Operation Lone Star, launched in 2021 to address the increase in border crossings, has been attributed by Governor Abbott to the immigration policies of the Biden administration. In fiscal years 2021, law enforcement's action by the United States Customs and Border Protection, including migrant detentions and arrests, increased to over 1.9 million, a 202% increase from fiscal year 2020. Meanwhile, there was a 278% increase in migrant encounters along the country's southwestern border from fiscal year 2020 to 2021, a figure that continued to rise until 2022. Operation Lone Star differs from previous border operations due to the authority granted to state law enforcement officials to arrest migrants in border counties for offenses such as trespassing and human trafficking. Efforts by Operation Lone Star to strengthen local authorities' actions against undocumented immigrants have been hindered by the traditional delegation of immigration enforcement powers to federal officials. This scenario is illustrated by the case of Arizona versus United States, in which the Supreme Court struck down an Arizona law that criminalized illegal immigration at the state level. In June 2023, surveys conducted by the Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas at Austin indicated that 59% of Texans supported increased police deployments and border spending. However, the OLS mission has faced public criticism even from state officials due to reports of salary delays, poor living and working conditions, lack of adequate equipment and facilities, as well as multiple suicides and suicide attempts among service members. According to an Army Times report, soldiers were housed in cramped conditions, in converted recreational vehicles and semi-trailers, and also faced shortage of cold weather uniforms, medical equipment, and portable toilets. This situation was exacerbated by the state cuts in educational benefits for service members, reducing available tuition assistance by more than a half. On January 13, 2022, a state district court judge in Travis County, Texas, granted Jesus Alberto Guzman Curipoma from Ecuador a writ of habeas corpus, ruling that the state program violated the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution. On February 25, 2022, the Third Court of Appeals in Austin affirmed the lower court's decision. Both state and federal officials from the Republican Party have supported Texas efforts and criticized the opposition for the Biden administration. On July 2022, the Department of Justice opened a civil rights investigation into Operation Lone Star, focusing on renewing whether it violates Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin by programs receiving federal funds. On July 24, 2023, the United States Department of Justice filed a lawsuit alleging that the construction of the floating batteries on the Rio Grande near Eagle Pass by OSL without permission violate the Reefs and Harbor Act of 1899. In response, Texas argued that the Rio Grande area is not covered by the Act and that floating batteries are not a structure subject to the Act's requirements. The outcome of the case is pending a rehearing before the Fifth Circuit. Federal Border Patrol agents became embroiled in a conflict with Texas regarding the barbed wire deployed as part of Operation Lone Star. Although initially allowed to cut and destroy the barbed wire, a temporary restraining order issued by a judge in the Western District of Texas on October 30, 2023, restricted their ability to do so except in situations of medical emergency. However, this order was lifted on November 30th, allowing Border Patrol to resume cutting the wire pending the trial's resolution. Subsequently, the Fifth Circuit reinstated the temporary restraining order in December 2023. In January 2024, the United States Supreme Court reinstated Border Patrol agents' ability to cut the barbed wire while awaiting the case's resolution. Despite this measure, Texas continued to place concertina wire and block Border Patrol agents, triggering additional tensions between the state and the federal government. Since 2022, Governor Abbott has repeatedly invoked the invasion clauses of the Constitution to legally support a state efforts in immigration law enforcement, which normally fall under federal jurisdiction. Abbott has argued that the Biden administration has not adequately protected Texas against what he perceived as an invasion, as permitted by Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. However, Texas attempts to use this argument in a federal court has been unsuccessful. On January 11, 2024, the Texas National Guard took control of the Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, citing an emergency declaration signed by Abbott due to the border crisis. This movement prevented Border Patrol from patrolling the area, sparking additional concern about the border security and management. The construction of barriers on the Rio Grande has also been the subject of legal disputes. Despite federal opposition, state Republicans governor, as well as House Speaker Mike Johnson, have spread support for Texas government on this issue. Despite OLL supports, concerns have arisen about the justification and impact of the operation. Reports from ProPublica, the Texas Tribune, and the Marshals Project have highlighted issues such as arrests unrelated to border security, high-speed pursuits, and financial challenges affecting other Texas government agencies. These issues have fueled the debate over the effectiveness and ethics of OLS in addressing immigration and border security. Texas has experienced a lower growth rate in migrant encounters than neighboring states since the start of Operation Lone Star. 1 year after its inception, Texas recorded a 9% increase in encounters, compared to a 62% increase in encounters in Arizona, California, and New Mexico, three other border states with Mexico. As part of OLS, Texas implemented a program to voluntarily send migrants to sanctuary cities in other states, mainly through buses. Abbott had stated that the purpose of the Migrant bus program was to provide relief to Texas border cities from the influx of migrants, which he attributes to the immigration policy of the Biden administration, and to shift the cause of the border crisis to Democratic cities. However, there have been criticism about the lack of adequate provision in some of these transfers. The state reported having sent 102,108 migrants to cities outside of Texas, contributing to the housing crisis for immigrants in cities such as New York, Chicago, Denver, and Washington, D.C. Officials in these cities have responded by implementing emergency measures and requesting federal aid to finance their responses to the influx of immigrants. To carry out the bus program, charter bus companies transfer migrants at a cost of around $1,650 per migrant, with funding coming from both the Texas legislature and private donors. However, some local officials in sanctuary cities have attempted to crack down on bus transportation programs through fines and ordinances targeting charter bus companies. Officials in areas facing waves of immigrants have called on the Biden administration to change immigration policies and have requested federal assistance to finance the responses to the influx of immigrants. However, some requests, such as the deployment of the D.C. National Guard, have been rejected. Agents from the Texas Department of Safety have engaged in high-speed pursuits against vehicles carrying migrants, resulting in accidents that have caused death and injuries. This has drawn criticism from organizations like Human Rights Watch, which has denounced the negative consequences of Operation Lone Star, including a higher damage rate and a proliferation of racially motivated police interventions. The Texas government has sometimes turned to retired judges to decide on the conviction of migrants or those assisting them, resulting in rulings that violate human rights by separating families, trampling on the right to asylum, and subjecting people to deplorable prison conditions. This has created a chaotic and militarized environment in Texas counties, with highly visible law enforcement agencies on highways, cities, and towns, with armed uniformed personnel and vehicles. These actions have been alarming for organizations like Human Rights Watch. In addition to these operations, the Abbott government continues to build a border wall, expelling migrants to other cities in the United States and installing buoys with wire in the Rio Grande, putting the lives of those attempting to cross at risk. These measures have raised further concerns about human rights respect and migrant safety. This situation has been exacerbated by legal conflict between the federal and state government, as well as the lack of political consensus on how to effectively address border challenges. Ultimately, Operation Lone Star has highlighted the difficulties of these operations and the sensitivity of the immigration issue in the United States, underscoring the need for a comprehensive and human rights respecting approach to effectively and fairly address these problems. We invite you to follow us and activate the notification bell to stay informed of more. See you in the next video. Goodbye.